Make sure to subscribe to our channel, join our Discord, and also follow us on Instagram so you always have the support that you need to really enhance your account and get yourself to the next level. Also, if you stick around until the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can save a lot of money when you make in-game purchases by getting some amazing cashbacks each time you purchase anything. Hello everyone and welcome to another video of the Sky channel. So the Ghost Mantis just came out and you know what? I decided that I'm going to create a video on it that I can release as soon as possible. So, normally I take a lot of time editing and reviewing. I do a bunch of reviews to make sure that the video is actually giving a lot of value to everyone. And that means that I invest a lot of time to make sure that the final video is of the highest quality. This video, of course, there's another thing to it. I want to get it out as soon as possible so that people can actually get this video when they need it, right? When they're deciding whether Ghost Mantis is a worthwhile investment or not, and trying to understand a little bit about its abilities without having to, go through it and research and, read the whole thing by themselves. So I'll try to keep it a little bit shorter than normal videos, which helps me because that means less editing time as well. And of course, it helps you as well because we're going to be talking about what's important and skipping over some of the details. So first off, since it's the first time this has been released, they're actually giving you a bunch of free stuff if you get it. That includes 20 of the insect star inverters, which you need if you want to switch stars, of course, as well as 500 ascent shells and some exotic fodder, which you need to level up your insect. Now remember, you'll be getting this at 7 star, and if you want to switch it with an 11 star insect, it's going to cost 30 insect star inverters, so you'd still need to purchase 10 more. Luckily, whenever the new insect comes out as well, they have a special promotion where you can actually get 10 insect star inverters for $10, which is much cheaper than the normal price of 5 for 20, right? So a really good deal because they don't want to stop you from purchasing the insect because of these extra costs associated with it, right? And of course, you'll still need the level reversion mushrooms based on the level of your insect, but those are a bit cheaper than the inverters. You can find out how much by going to the Instagram page of the Sky Alliance, and you can see a chart there which tells you which level and how many you need. Now, before we start talking about the actual insect and its abilities, I'm sure a lot of you have questions about what's the best way of purchasing it and what's the approximate cost it's going to be for you to actually get it. What's our question number 2? The approximate cost is probably going to be between $250 to $300. Don't quote me on this, but based on the Deadleaf Mantis that I purchased, that's the approximate cost that it came out to be. There's a little bit of luck involved with all these leaves and stuff, but that's a rough estimate. You could get it much cheaper if you're super lucky. You could have to spend a lot more if you're extremely unlucky. The other thing is, the best way of purchasing it, in my opinion, is by getting the $1, $5, and $20 packs each day. And that way, you can see your luck based on the cheaper packs, because these cheaper packs actually give you the best value for your investment, right? You can see that the $1 pack has 1 of the fish and 5 of the leaves, and the $5 pack has 2 fish and 10 leaves. Technically speaking, at the same value, it should have been $2, not 5, right? So the $1 seems to be the best investment. The $5 pack is much more expensive. Its value is approximately $2 if you're comparing it to the $1 one, but that's not the case, right? The $1 one is just a much better deal. Similarly, the $20 one is a worse deal than the $5 one, because if you look at it, you're getting 3 times the amount of items you're getting from the $5 one, but you're paying 4 times the price, right? You're paying 20 and not 15. Same thing with the $50 one. That is the worst deal because you're paying 2.5 times the price of the $20 pack, but you're not getting 2.5 times the items. Okay, so what does that mean? Purchase the $1, $5, and $20 packs each day for the 6 days. Then on the last day, you can decide how many $50 packs you need to get the final reward. Now, if you're lucky, super lucky, you may not even need a $50 pack. Who knows how lucky you can get, right? There's the opportunity to get 50 fish from each roll, right? So potentially speaking, if you are extremely lucky, you may not even need the $50 pack, but most likely you will. And you can decide how much you need. Now, I know that there is the opportunity that perhaps you could have just not bought a few of those $25 packs because you needed to buy an extra $50 pack anyway. And that's true. It's just that you'd never know, right? You don't want to skip on the better value packs because you don't know how many of these leaves you're going to need at the end, right? So the safest approach, in my opinion, is just do exactly what I'm saying. Get the cheapest packs and then think about how many of the $50 packs you need to get the final reward. Now, there's also the packs that give insects. I don't generally go there, but they are fairly valuable as well. Just that they don't give you any fish in the get-go. You have to rely on luck, and you never know how lucky you're going to be. So perhaps it's better to just skip on those. They also don't have the same value when it comes to specifically the event items, right? The $50 pack is giving a better deal than the $100 pack with insects, unless you genuinely really need the insects. So that was a bit about how you should go about it based on my opinion. If you have a different strategy, feel free to leave it in the comments below. There's probably no right strategy for everyone. You may have different needs and therefore you might use a different strategy. So now talking about the Ghost Mantis, and let's take a look at it. So first of all, one of the differences that came out in this new third generation of insects is that you get 20 extra talent points from the get-go, right? So whatever talent points you had before for that same level of the insect, you're going to have 20 more for you to use, which is a significant boost, especially because 20 talent points is quite a lot. The other thing is that this is, of course, a shooter synergy too, which means it's a universal, but it works best when you have a shooter in the squad. And when you have a shooter in the squad, the effect it's giving you is an increase in damage by 8%. And I love it when it comes to damage because, when you say shooters, you're thinking heavy hitters, you're thinking doing a lot of damage, you're thinking about PvE scores, Pangolin and Groundhog, and damage is good for all of that. So this is a perfect start to the insect, right? That's an amazing ability. You'll also notice up here in the same page that these buddy talents are a little higher than what you had in the Deadleaf Mantis. So that's fairly good as well, right? Which means that you'll have a bit of a boost in your stats when you start using buddies. Now looking at the other stats, 75% attack and 75% defense, that is obviously the highest it's been in the shooter insects, right? So it's a little bit of a boost from Deadleaf, which was 70. This is 75. March speed and combat speed is the same, no difference here. And the special ability, let's go into that. By the way, it's 100% chance of it, which is pretty cool. Deadleaf Mantis had a 70% chance, which is giving a bit of crit rate and piercing effect as well as healing. Let's see what the Ghost Mantis does. At the beginning of each round, choose 2 of your squads at random and grant them 2 buffs randomly selected from the following 3. So 2 squads are getting 2 buffs out of these 3. 40% chance to target 1 more unit from your skill, which is pretty cool because you're doing a lot of skill damage. And if you're targeting 1 unit, it gives you a 40% chance to target 2. If you're targeting 2 units, you have 40% chance of targeting 3. If you're already targeting all 3, I don't know how that works. Perhaps you get a little bit of a boost in damage, or perhaps it's completely useless for that purpose. The second buff that you could get is that all skills trigger chance plus 5%, right? So whatever your chance of triggering, you get an extra 5% of that, which is pretty cool. So both of these are really lovely for both PvP and PvE. And the third one is heal for 10% of the damage dealt, which is pretty cool for PvP, but not for PvE that much. I don't think Pangolin really attacks you back, but you know what? Other people might. And if you're a big damage dealer, you're getting 10% off the damage that you do back as health. That's great. So you get 2 out of these 3 buffs for 1 round. And that is pretty cool. 2 of them are good for PvP and PvE, and 1 of them is just good for PvP primarily. So regardless, since you're getting 2, you're definitely getting something good for PvP and PvE as well. So that's a lovely skill, right there you see that this makes the Ghost Mantis pretty strong, and it's a 100% chance of getting this, right? So this can really help you go pretty far. Next up, 50% health. Again, that's an improvement from the Deadleaf Mantis, which is 45. Skill attack, 105. Another improvement. That was 95 for the Deadleaf Mantis, so 10% increase in skill attack from the get-go, which is amazing. Skill defense also increased by 10%, so it's 75% for Deadleaf Mantis, 85 for the Ghost Mantis. And And then the last three things are exactly the same as a Deadleaf Mantis. 40% invasion attack, 40% invasion defense, 30% damage. Okay, so overall, just by looking at this, you can see the Ghost Mantis is pretty cool, and by its base stats, it's actually a huge improvement from the Deadleaf Mantis. And of course, that ability is pretty cool. I want to see how it's going to be in the Pangolin and Groundhog. You know what? I'm going to buy this for the Shooter Day Pangolin. And we're going to test this out and compare it with the Deadleaf Mantis. Essentially, I'm going to use my current unit, then I'm going to switch it out, and I'm going to use the Ghost Mantis with the Deadleaf Mantis as a helper, and we're going to see how our PvE scores change. So maybe we'll do the same format, 7 using the Deadleaf, 7 using the Ghost Mantis, and then we'll see. So expect another video coming out soon. But before we end, we still have to talk about the talents, right? Because that's such an important thing. Okay, so I could see it says new here, but you know, when I went into it, I realized it's exactly the same as the Deadleaf Mantis, so it's not really new. I guess it's new if you have a very old generation insect that doesn't have this, so we're not going to talk about this one much. Firstly, you got 20 by the get-go. We talked about this one before. The bottom branch is pretty much the same as any of the new generation ones. Let's talk about the right branch and see how it goes. So the middle skill. Buff effect. During the battle, all of our squads gain 3% increased damage on their first attack each round and reduce the target's skill defense by 4% throughout the entire battle. Okay, so that's pretty cool. At level 1, you're going to get 3% increased damage for the first attack every single round, and that's for each of your troops. So you have 3 rows. Each of the rows are going to get an increase in damage on their first attack, right? And that's at level 1. So at level 10, I'm assuming it's going to be 30% increased damage on the first attack each round, and then you're going to reduce the enemy's skill defense by 40%, I guess, at level 10 for the entire battle. That's huge, right? Because that means that not only are you doing a lot more damage, you're reducing their skill defense, and hence you're making yourself do even more damage to them because of this talent. So that's an amazing talent. Just by looking at it, you can see that it can do a lot of damage to the enemies, and that's really crazy. Now, of course, you probably want to get the skill damage of all squads as well. It's a little bit out of place. Normally it's usually inside the tree, but this one they've put it as a separate branch, so you don't necessarily need to get it, but you do. Everyone's probably going to get the skill damage anyway. The other things that are worth mentioning are the other 3 special talents. Let's start with this one. In the first 4 rounds, all of our squads gain skill defense plus 4% at level 1 and normal attack resistance plus 2% at level 1. That's great because that is essentially for your survivability, and it's focusing on the first 4 rounds, right? So PvP talent for sure, allowing you to live a little bit longer and hopefully stick around so you can do more damage to the enemies. Now, if you go to the one at the top, that's kind of like reverse. In the last 4 rounds, right? That one was the first 4 rounds. This is the last 4 rounds. Skill damage of all of our squads increases by 0.5% each round at level 1, and at level 8, that should be 4% each round, and it's stackable. So round 5, you get a 4% increase in your skill damage. Round 6, you've already got the 4%, so now you're looking at 8%, then 12% in round 7, and 16% in round 8. This helps in both PvP and PvE, though I'd say perhaps a little bit more on the PvE because in PvP a lot has already happened by the first 4 rounds. So an amazing skill that you can use for Groundhog and Pangolin especially, but also theoretically for PvP if you still have your troops alive and able to do damage. Finally, we're going to talk about the last talent. 50% chance to mark a random enemy squad each round, reducing all of its attributes by 3%, which should be 30% by level 10. So you're reducing all of the attributes by 30%. And when I read this, I'm assuming it means you're reducing their attack, defense, skill defense, and health. That's probably what it means, but if I'm wrong, do correct me in the comments so that other people can also see what it really means. And then when our squad deals skill damage to this marked enemy squad, there's a 80% chance to increase that damage by 3%, which should be 30% by level 10. So 30% increased damage to that marked squad. Another lovely talent, right? So you can end up doing a lot more damage to the enemies. And I guess the second part of it means that perhaps it's going to be helpful in PvE as well. So you're hitting the pangolin, but one of the rows is marked. So you have an 80% chance of doing 30% extra damage using your skill. Okay, so that's the talents, and I think I've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. I think the Ghost Mantis is pretty powerful. It is a big jump from the Deadleaf Mantis. You get those 20 talents from the get-go, which itself is a pretty nice selling point, right? And then you get a pretty nice boost in its abilities and its talents. And of course, you have that ability to place some buffs on your units, which can give you extra damage and healing, which can help you live longer. So I think this is going to be a meta. As you can imagine, most of the new insects are, but this one looks pretty cool as well. So if you are willing to hash out $250 to $300 to get this, it's probably going to be pretty worthwhile, at least until Shooter Synergy 4 comes out. And if you decide to buy it, make sure that you are using our Sky9 promo code with Aptoid, because you're going to get it much cheaper if you do it that way. If you're not sure how to do it, just check out the video that I'm linking to the description of this video. So just scroll down a little bit and you'll see it. Or you can click the button that's going to appear at the top right of the screen. That's going to take you to that video and it's going to guide you through the process. Or, you know what? Just join our Discord and ask me how it's done and I'll help you with the process myself as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like it. Please subscribe to our channel. Let me know what you think about this video. And if I get a lot of traction on this video, you can expect that I'm going to continue doing it for other future releases and give you feedback when you need it most. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.